Dude, it's amateur hour here. I'm telling you, it's amateur hour. I'm gonna have to cut all that out, and when you see the show on the back end, it's gonna have all of that cut out where I wasn't talking, or well, I was, but it was muted. Welcome to Armchair Analysis. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day so far. It is Monday, August 17th, 2026, and it is feeling like a Monday right now. But we are under 2 weeks away from week zero. And on top of that, we got a little change going on back here. I went out and decided I needed to hit Amazon up. I needed to get a divider. Now, this is not sponsored because I don't have anywhere near the amount of people that want to tune into this that would think that Amazon might sponsor me. But anyways, went on Amazon, bought a divider for the basement, and put it together. And really like the way this layout turned out. So hopefully you guys enjoy it too. We got all kinds of stuff back here. Maybe this could be some non-playing season content down the line. I'll talk about some of these things that we got behind us. But yeah, a lot of things changed over the weekend. And that could go really without saying for a lot of things, right? We got quarterback battles. Things might have changed there. I got my top 10, top 9 breakout players in 2026. I couldn't find a 10th. I felt pretty comfortable with 9. And then we've also got my favorite segment of the year, really, every time we do this, is the Ultimate College Football Road Trip, where we come out and I give you guys, if I had really not to worry about money whatsoever, to go through every single week of college football and give you the game I would go to for each week. So very excited, looking forward to that part of this show. And hey, I know, but I've got stuff to do. We don't got to do all that. Sure, lay down. Again, amateur hour. Anyways, welcome in. Thank y'all for being here, and thank you guys for getting us over 300 subscribers. I know I've said that a couple times. We hit 300 earlier this month, and looking to keep it growing. And all you have to do if you're new around here to help support, just subscribe. You hit that subscribe button. It's free. It helps us continue to grow the channel and helps us get closer to each goal that we have in front of us, whether that be 400 subscribers, 500 subscribers, which I would like to be to by the end of the college football season. Let's see if we can continue to grow this thing, man. It's been a lot of fun. A lot of fun getting the social medias going. And yeah, I'm just pumped, man. The college football season is literally 12 days away. 12 days from week 0 games, and we've got plenty to talk about there. And we've got plenty to talk about today. So without any further interruptions, any further delay, let's go ahead and talk about everything we've got today. And it starts with some camp headlines, some things that are coming out, especially about quarterback battles. We've got plenty of them going on around the college football world. But we got some big things really in front of us for a few different places. And let's start with Alabama. I talked about this battle earlier last week. And, you know, Keelan Russell has really felt like the guy who was going to get this job. Starts to be kind of taking control of that position as he's really been able to make a lot of things happen. And it's his ability to extend plays that have a lot of people talking that it's going to be Keelan Russell as the starting quarterback. And forgive me, I'm fixing my mic. But it's his ability to extend plays and create things that Austin Mack just hasn't really been able to do or show that he can do throughout the course of camp. Obviously, this could change. I still think that we're a week away at a minimum from getting a starting quarterback named at Alabama. But right now, if I were to take a guess, it's going to be Keelan Russell. Moving on, let's go talk Florida. Aaron Philo has seemed to really just kind of start pulling away in this battle, and that seems to be really not a huge surprise. Look, Aaron Philo knows the system, played for Buster Faulkner at Georgia Tech. Feels as though he's kind of the one that's going to go in and at least lead this year and lead them forward for 2026. Now, going forward and beyond that, Tramel Jones seems to be the long-term option, and that's kind of why they kept him at Florida. But for right now, Aaron Philo pulling away seems to be likely that he'll be named the starter at some point soon. I don't know if it's going to be immediately, but within probably the next week or so. Staying in the Southeast, let's go to Clemson. Christopher Vizina has not really found a way to pull far away. Now, he is the presumed starter for obvious reasons. He's been in the system for a while, at least been in the program for a while. Feels as though it's kind of just his turn, has waited his turn, and that's kind of the guys that Dabo likes to give their due at the very minimum. But Tate Reynolds has been, I think, really just pushing Vizina, and this goes all the way back to the spring. Tate Reynolds has been pushing Christopher Vizina this whole time. I don't think that Vizina will not start week 1. I think that he is locked in starter early in the year when they go to LSU. But if things don't look great, and if this team gets off to a slow start, could the move be made? I think the answer is a certain yes. Now, it would take some things that we haven't seen, which is Dabo Swinney kind of walking away from some of the loyalties that he's had in the past. It would take Chad Morris finding something that he just doesn't think he can get from Christopher Vizina. But I do think that the option is open for Tate Reynolds to go in and potentially take that starting quarterback job up there in Clemson. You go elsewhere. You got Vanderbilt. It seems like Jared Curtis is really impressing people. Now, Blaise Berlowitz is still in this battle 100%. If I were guessing, I'm still going Jared Curtis. I just don't see any reason why you don't put the 5-star quarterback on the field. But Blaise Berlowitz does have a knowledge of the system. Seems to be a guy that, at least from a maturity perspective and knowing the game perspective, seems to be really hard to match. We'll see if anything changes there. And then the other one I want to talk about was North Carolina. Billy Edwards, Miles O'Neill, neither one of them are really taking charge of this battle. And I think this is going to be a question that might go unanswered for a little while. I don't know how quick they're going to get answers. Now, of course, they have to go to Ireland early in the season. They got to go to Ireland, as a matter of fact, in less than 2 weeks. There will be a quarterback named at that point, or by that point, you would hope. But what if there's not? I think that could be a really concerning thing for North Carolina fans, let alone all the travel, but not knowing who your starting quarterback is going to be. I think it's starting to get a little bit concerning now that we're just, again, 12 days away from them traveling across the pond and going and playing this game. So a lot of conversations, a lot of concern around the North Carolina camp early in the fall camp season. I want to move into my top 10 breakout players for 2026. And when I say top 10, I put 9. I couldn't find a 10th, and honestly, I didn't really know where I wanted to go with this, if I'm being completely honest. Did I want to stick around just quarterbacks, which seems to be what the majority of this list is? Did I want to go outside the box? Did I want to be a bold take, a hot take guy? Or did I want to be, hey, who seems to be the guys who can really step up and make some things happen? And I ended up kind of landing on a quarterback-friendly list. But we have some other guys out here, and we have some names in this conversation that I'm excited to get into and kind of talk through. So I'm going to just go top to bottom on the way I've got the list wrote down. But we have some, I think, fun conversation to have here. That's where I'll go with this. It starts with number 1, and my number 1 breakout player for 2026 is Nick Harbor. The reason for this is very simple. This is year 2 of Nick Harbor solely focusing on college football. He doesn't care about anything else. He's not worried about being a track athlete, an Olympian. He's worried about college football and specifically playing for South Carolina. And if that's the case, we've watched him double production every single year. And last year, doubled it up to 600 yards. That was 1 year of just college football. And we've noticed, if you really watch Nick Harbor, the thing that will stand out from 2024 to 2025 was just his overall talent and the way that he was able to actually catch the football. I know that seems very simple, but this is a track athlete that came in trying to play the game of football without really a whole lot of experience. And again, that 1 year, you saw route running get better. You saw his hands get better, made a lot more plays, and honestly became a reliable target in the passing game. And with all of that being the case, is there any reason to believe that he can't continue to improve? Van Jacobs goes out. There's going to have to be somebody that steps up and takes over that production. Can Nick Harbor be a 1,000-yard receiver? Can he be a Blitnikoff candidate? I think the answer is yes. without question. Obviously, this is going to depend upon how well this offense meshes into the Kendall Briles system. But I think Nick Harbor is in for a huge year in 2026. Moving on to number 2, I got Bryce Underwood of Michigan. Now, that's going to sound surprising because he was a starter last year, but let's talk about it a little bit. Last year, in a system that nobody felt like was built for him, and it really wasn't. I mean, they refused to run him outside of the game against Nebraska. Bryce Underwood was still a solid passer. Over 2,000 yards passing, 11 touchdowns. Now, he did throw 9 interceptions, and a lot of that came from just overall true freshman mistakes. But you go into this year, and there's a handful of things that are already different. 1, he's got a quarterback coach. 2, he's got a system that believes in him and wants to utilize his abilities and is not worried about him getting hurt. Now, obviously, that's not what you want to see. He could get hurt. It could seriously jeopardize the season for Michigan. But I don't think this program is really worried about his potential for injury. They're worried about giving him the best opportunity to go pro, giving him the best opportunity to succeed at the college level. With all of that, we've already seen it. I talked about it last week. The camp clips, you could tell the footwork is better. Again, there are things that you just can't get from a real game that are still going to be kind of up in the air for decision as time goes on. But what if Bryce Underwood actually hits this year? What if everything that has been said over the course of the offseason by Michigan coaching staff has been true? He ends up going out and being a 3,000 plus yard passer, could go out and be a 1,000-yard rusher even. And what is a team that already has 2 potential 1,000-yard rushers at running back? If Bryce Underwood is what everybody believes he is, this is the year before the year. Next year should be the year that Bryce Underwood comes out and is a Heisman contender. But what if he hits a year early? Michigan will be a playoff team, likely a national championship contender. And this team has serious potential for that. But again, it all depends on Bryce Underwood. Will he strike a year ahead of schedule? Moving on to my number 3. And now these are no longer really in any particular order. The first 2 were just the order of which I thought them up. The rest of these are just kind of in order of what school they are at. And by that I mean alphabetical order by school. Starting at number 3, I got Avery Johnson of Kansas State. And this is going to seem maybe potentially really dumb, but at the same time, Avery Johnson goes into this year with a lot on the table. An experienced team, even though they do, they lost a little bit, but they bring a good amount of replacement in. Colin Klein takes over as a head coach, and Avery Johnson looks to kind of get back to that 2024 mentality. Excuse me, that 2024 mentality. If Avery Johnson can get to that 2024 mentality, can he be a star player with, the extra maturity, the added, confidence that may bring to him? Instead of 10 interceptions in 2024, could he be, a 22-6 guy with, 7 or 8 rushing touchdowns added onto it? Everything went down last year by about 200 to 300 yards in production. His passing numbers went down. His rushing numbers went down. Everything dropped last year. Can Avery Johnson, in year 1 for Colin Klein, be the quarterback that he needs and the potential Heisman contender that people have said he could be for the last 3 years? It's very possible. We will see. I think that jury's still out, but I think that it's a likely possibility. You go to number 4, I like Lincoln Kienholz a lot, and I think he's going to break out big time for Louisville. Look, he has been behind some really good quarterbacks at Ohio State. He's been coached by one of the best quarterback coaches in college football in Ryan Day. Plain and simple, if there's somebody that can jump into the Jeff Brom offense and be as good as the last few quarterbacks have been who have managed to play for Jeff Brom, just going all the way back to Purdue, then I feel like Lincoln Kienholz is a surefire, no doubt, will be a star quarterback in 2026. It might just lead Louisville to an ACC title contention, maybe even a championship game appearance. And if that's the case, what about a playoff appearance? This offense has a lot of tools in front of them. I think they're going to be really solid this year. I think the defense is going to be better this year. I like Louisville a lot. It starts with quarterback Lincoln Kienholz. Moving on, we got Marquise Lightfoot of Miami. Look, he's going to be paired across the field or across the line of scrimmage from Damon Wilson, who transfers in from Missouri. 9 sacks last year, 16 quarterback hurries. There's a lot of attention going to be faced on the other side of this defensive line. And for Marquise Lightfoot, who had a couple sacks last year himself and had significant playing time, I think that's just what you need, is the attention to be taken off of you. Now, understand that last year he was buried behind 2 really just genuine freak athletes at the defensive end and edge rushing positions. And I think that he's been able to learn a little bit. This team wants to win at the line of scrimmage, and I think that that's going to be very evident throughout the course of the year. I think Marquise Lightfoot is in for a huge year for the Hurricanes. This one's going to be interesting because a lot of people, especially Mississippi State fans, are going to say, well, you did not like our team much at all over the course of the offseason. And that's true. I don't. I still don't really love what Mississippi State is or could be. However, I'm not, I guess, immune to knowing what Kamario Taylor could be for this program. Look, he is a young quarterback who has a lot of potential and a lot of just freak athletic ability. And if he can get all of it together, he is going to be a really good quarterback for this team. He could go and be that Tyler Russell, Dak Prescott style quarterback who leads Mississippi State to be a top 25 team. I don't fully believe that that's what 2026 has in store, but I do believe that if he is to hit the way that everybody expects him to and play the way everybody expects him to, 2027 becomes the year where Mississippi State becomes a genuine, I would say, threat week in and week out. But not only that, becomes an 8-win candidate, becomes a team that can do what everybody really wants to see out of Starkville. They're not expecting playoffs. They're just expecting a competitive team. I think we can start to see some glimpses of that here this year. While I don't believe they'll be a good team, and I don't know if they'll be as good as they were last year, I still think there are some things in front of this Mississippi State program. At number 7, I have got Northwestern. Look, I think that, well, I've got Northwestern. I've got Aiden Childs of Northwestern. And look, this is just simply going off of overall fit. I think that Aiden Childs fits the system very well. Last year, we saw a lot of maturity, even in what was a trying season for Michigan State football. I mean, head coach gets fired. You go through multiple quarterbacks. Aiden Childs was okay last year. 10 touchdowns and 3 picks was not a bad look for him whatsoever. And he comes over to this Northwestern offense to go play for a couple quarterback gurus at this point. Chip Kelly has been known for his innovation, of course, going all the way back to the days at Oregon with Dennis Dixon. Can, I think, really get Aiden Childs kind of out of his shell a little bit, make him into the prototypical Chip Kelly quarterback, really. I mean, let's just call it what it is. You pair that up with Jerry Neuheisel, who's really good at just getting the most out of quarterbacks, and I think that that's going to be a place where a lot of potential is realized. I think Aiden Childs is in for a huge year. I think this Northwestern team is in for a huge year. And a lot of it comes from these 2 hires right here. And then it's just going to build further because David Braun's got a really good defense, knows what he's doing, loves to kind of oversee that side of the ball. And then you add in a head coach capable, or 2 head coach capable guys as assistants. And we're talking about a Northwestern team that might just be one of the most dangerous teams in college football this year. Going down to Vanderbilt, I got Cedric Alexander of Vanderbilt. And look, this is just simply based off of production. I think if we're talking production alone, Cedric Alexander could break out and be a 1,000-yard rusher in 2026. I love what this Vandy team can be. Look, 567 yards last year, 11 touchdowns, a 5-yard per carry average. Cedric Alexander has all of the makings to be an all-conference caliber back for this Vanderbilt team. Look, he's going to have to step it up because Jared Curtis is going to need a run game around him. I love the wide receiver room. Junior Sherrill is going to be a guy who steps up and takes things to the next level in his overall, I guess, career, production, whatever you want to call it. Cedric Alexander, as the lead back, as the guy who's the main focus of this offense potentially, I think is a huge opportunity. This is going to be a very similar style of offense. You can expect to see quarterback run. You can expect to see them lean on the ground game. but you're going to lean on it in a different way. It's not going to be Diego Pavia taking up the majority of the carries. It's going to be this guy, number 28, Cedric Alexander. Lastly, I've got Colton Joseph of Wisconsin. Look, he was a 3,600 all-purpose yard player last year. Had, I think, 30s, also 36 or 38 touchdowns for Old Dominion. 10 interceptions. That's the big catch-all for Colton Joseph. Last year broke out onto the scene early in that game against Indiana. They weren't even in the game. But the first play of the season, he goes and runs a 75-yard touchdown. And it just kind of went on from there. Immaturity, volatility in his overall play, that's the biggest question mark. That's the biggest hindrance to Colton Joseph. But what if Colton Joseph is good? What if, and not only just good, what if he takes care of the ball better this year? Are we talking about Wisconsin being a 6 to 8 win team? It's very possible. I mean, that's kind of what they've been missing is the quarterback position. They've been missing just overall health in general. But the quarterback position has been the biggest place for Luke Fickell, and really just a place of overall bad luck for Luke Fickell and his tenure in Madison. What if everything turns around? What if everything looks better at Wisconsin and it all starts at the quarterback spot? The Badgers just might be, again, a 6 to 8 win team if all things hit properly for Colton Joseph. So those are the 9 that I had for breakout candidates. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Would love to hear you guys' thoughts down there. Lastly, we've got our ultimate college football road trip, and this is a segment I love to do every year, and it's really just kind of, you get a chance to go through the schedule. You get a chance to really look at some of the biggest games of the year, and you got to pick, hey, if I had to pick like one that's going to be on my TV, one that I would go to no matter what this week, what game am I not missing? I think we did a good job of getting a lot of variety here. Normally, I end up having a couple teams end up with 2 or 3, games on here. I think we ended up doing pretty solid. I think there's only one team you'll see more than twice, and only a couple that you'll see even twice. So, hopefully, that is a good sign for what this segment can be. So it starts with week 0. Memphis at UNLV. That is my number 1 game of week 0. I cannot wait to watch this game. Charles Huff in his first game at Memphis travels on the road to Vegas to face Dan Mullen's UNLV team, who has really just all the talent in the world. They're my playoff pick out of the group of 5, and it could start with a big win here. Look, Charles Huff has won everywhere he's went and been a really solid coach everywhere he's went. The biggest question mark to me is the amount of times that we have seen Charles Huff now kind of just up and move out of nowhere. He went to Southern Miss. That's his alma mater. And we thought, okay, he's going to stay there for a while, build this program up, and then move on. Well, Memphis called. And now Charles Huff is the head coach at Memphis. I still think he's a good head coach. I really like what Memphis has in front of him. I think he's a perfect replacement for Ryan Silverfield. But I do have my concerns about that program as a whole. I think UNLV will get a win in this game. A little bit of a spoiler alert for our preview for week 0. But I do love what this game has in store. I love what it can be. I think it's the best game of week 0. Moving to week 1, I've got UCLA at Cal. That's my pick, and I love it because I think that this is a really good opportunity for a couple returning quarterbacks. Nico Iamaleava, Bob Chesney, game number 1 for this UCLA program in its new era. But not only that, it's game number 1 for Cal in its new era. Tosh Lupoy takes over as a head coach, and JKS has an opportunity to maybe punch his Heisman ticket early. I mean, what if Cal comes out and gets a big win, and Jaron Keave Sagapuluteli comes out and has 4 touchdown passes in this game, throwing for 275. I mean, this Cal team has that in them. They have a lot of opportunity. I think this is going to be a great passing game. I love what Cal's got in front of them. I love this game. I think it is I don't see how you don't go out to Berkeley to see this kind of opener for 2 new head coaches. Week number 2. Let's go Ohio State at Texas. Look, you could have gone really either way with week 2. You could have either went with Michigan and Oklahoma. Could have went Ohio State, Texas. There's probably a couple other options. But for me, it's Ohio State at Texas. The reason for it, it's a huge game, and it could very well be the AP number 1 and AP number 2 teams at this point in the season. If that's the case, how do you pass it up? I mean, I just don't know that you do. Great opportunity in front of both these teams. Texas is looking to get some revenge at home after losing to Ohio State 14-7 last year. This Ohio State team is looking to show that they are a legitimate national championship threat right away, and I think they are no matter what happens in this game. But imagine they come out and get a dominating defensive performance, go out and win by 7 to 10 points again, and just set the tone from the very beginning. It could be a great possibility. Or Arch Manning comes out and sets the tone for the season for Texas. Arch Manning comes out and has a much better performance than he did last year. Gets that kind of exercises some demons from last year. Well, Texas comes out and gets a big win. Automatically, they're in the national championship picture. Everybody's going to be talking Texas to win the Natty in week 2. It's a big game with big storylines, and it couldn't happen in a better place than Austin, Texas. Under the lights, as it should have been last year. No less. That's what we got for week 2. Week 3, if you thought there was anything other than LSU and Ole Miss, you're entirely wrong. This is the game of the year from so many perspectives. I mean, this is the environment of the year, without question. I mean, there's no way that you don't want to be in this place, in Vaught Hemingway Stadium, for that Week 3 game. Lane Kiffin returns to Ole Miss. And while Pete Golding and Lane Kiffin don't have any beef, I tell you right now, the Ole Miss fans have a lot of beef for Lane Kiffin. They've got a lot they want to kind of get out. Imagine if Ole Miss wins that game, the shit that he is going to get as he exits the stadium. But imagine LSU wins the game. Now, Lane Kiffin's taking a little social media break as far as I'm concerned, or as far as I've seen. But do you think he returns for that one? Do you think he returns if they go out and get a big win? Man, that would be incredible. LSU and Ole Miss week 3. Adam, welcome in to the chat. Just got in who Texas has. So we're just going through if I were to pick a game each week that I would want to attend, what game would it be? Week 2 was Ohio State, Texas. Week 1, UCLA at Cal. Week 0 was Memphis at UNLV. So that's where we're at right now. We're just kind of talking about storylines for all these games and why I would pick them. So week number 4, we go into Oklahoma at Georgia. The reason I didn't put Oklahoma, Michigan at week 2 was because really there's a lot of opportunities for Oklahoma this year to get into this conversation. And week 4 is probably the week I'm really excited for. Now, this is going to be their second big road trip in 4 weeks. And when Oklahoma goes on the road here, they're either going to come in 3-0 or they're going to come in 2-1 having lost to Michigan. There's really no other way around that. If they come in at 2-1, this game feels like a must-win situation because the rest of the year doesn't get any easier. They have really, I would say, 8 or 9 games that are just going to be very difficult. Imagine Oklahoma goes into this game at 2-1. Imagine the pressure on Brent Venables, on John Mateer, on this whole program to go out and set a tone and get a big-time win in week number 4 that could save their entire season. Now let's look at the flip side of that. What if they go in at 3-0? Then this game is just 2 heavyweights, top 10 teams that are probably top 5 teams that are looking to make their case for a bye, make their claim for a potential SEC title run. Week 4 has got a lot in store for Oklahoma, Georgia. It's got a lot in store overall. This is a year where week after week we have some banger football games. In week 5, I ended up going with a Friday game. Look, I don't know how you would want to ignore the idea that Penn State travels to Northwestern in week 5 on a Friday night. It's going to be on Fox. And the biggest reason for this game is, one, it's the opener for Ryan Field. I think anybody would love to see a stadium open up. The tickets are already expensive for really every Northwestern game. I think they hold like 5 of the top 20 games that in terms of ticket prices. Penn State at Northwestern. This is an upset opportunity for Northwestern. This is a chance for Northwestern to put themselves on the map immediately as a legitimate contender to maybe be a dark horse playoff team. I love what Chip Kelly is. I love what Jerry Neuheisel is. I talked about that when I was talking about Aiden Childs earlier in this show. I talked about it when we went back and go through the team preview for Northwestern. How good this team has potential to be. You open up Ryan Field with a win. I mean, it is just unreal what the potential could be for Northwestern. I think Penn State at Northwestern is a big opportunity. Week number 6, I would hope this game would be the whiteout game. We get Penn State back-to-back weeks. I would love to see USC at Penn State because I think that if Northwestern does happen to get the upset over Penn State, this is Penn State fighting for their life right here. Because this is going to be in a stretch where they play Northwestern, USC, and Michigan. Penn State has a lot of serious threats here in this like 3 to 4 week span where everything that's in front of them in what is a relatively light schedule could fall completely apart. You go into this game, again, hoping it's wide out, facing USC, who is likely a playoff team or could be a playoff contender at the very minimum. I think this is going to be a lot of storylines. If Penn State loses Northwestern, how big is that going to be? What is USC looking like at this point in the year? They're kind of cruising to this point in the season, if I'm not mistaken, remembering their schedule. It's a big-time game, a big-time opportunity. Week 6 is USC at Penn State. Week number 7, I feel like I just had to find a place to fit Provo, Utah in here. And Notre Dame traveling down to BYU is an opportunity certainly in front of us that I think a lot of people relish, right? What if Bear Bachmeier has taken some significant strides in his passing game? If so, how good can this BYU team really be? Because I think that was the biggest hindrance they had last year, specifically in their games against Texas Tech. Remember, Texas Tech was the number 1 run defense in college football, and they were an immovable force last year. BYU, really, when they were forced to throw the ball, were just incapable of winning games. Really, they were only ever forced to throw the ball twice, and that was twice against Texas Tech. They go into this game against Notre Dame, obviously a little miffed because Notre Dame backed out of the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Could have been a great bowl game last year. But not only that, with an opportunity to prove themselves and prove that they are who we think they can be. Look, Notre Dame is going to slow down the run game, and they're going to focus on L.J. Martin and really key there. But if BYU and Bear Bachmeier get this passing game going and become a multi-dimensional offense, I'm not saying they win the game, but it's a lot closer. It's a huge opportunity. And who doesn't want to see the sights and sounds of LaVell Edwards Stadium for a team like Notre Dame coming to town? Week 7, Notre Dame at BYU. Week 8, I've got Ole Miss at Texas. Look, this is one of those weeks that just kind of is a little quiet, a little sneaky. This is where some upsets are going to happen. But I really like the game between Ole Miss and Texas. I think Ole Miss traveling to Austin, this is going to be one of the first big opportunities for Pete Golding as the head coach. If they can go down here, Trinidad Chambliss, a Heisman frontrunner at this point in the season. Let's just imagine the scenes, right? Heisman frontrunner Trinidad Chambliss. Texas, if they beat Ohio State, they're probably undefeated at this point. It's just, I don't see too many other places to fall here. So if that's the case, if we get to this point in the year, we're likely talking maybe Arch Manning is a Heisman contender as well. This could be a big opportunity for playoff seeding, playoff hopes if Ole Miss has potentially lost a game already. I mean, they start with a huge game in week 1 on Sunday night. This just feels like a heavyweight battle of sorts between 2 really good quarterbacks, 2 good offenses. Who gets that first stop? Who puts the pressure upon the opposing quarterback first? Whoever it is, I think gets an upper hand, goes on to win this game. It's going to be a hell of an environment down there in Austin. Week number 9, I've got Arizona at Texas Tech. Look, this is one of the first times where I really feel like Texas Tech has an opportunity to lose. Now, you go back to week 3 when they play Houston on a Friday night. That game as well going to be in Lubbock. And that's the big story for Texas Tech all year is their toughest games are at home in Lubbock. The opportunities in front of them. Now, the biggest thing here, very experienced quarterback in Noah Fafita comes into town with an opportunity to pull a big upset and maybe put themselves in the conversation for the Big 12 title. I feel like there's a lot of storylines that follow this game, depending upon how Texas Tech has looked at this point, especially at quarterback. Could Arizona be able to pull off an upset here? Who knows? But week 9, that's where we're looking. Week 10, we've talked about it. trips to Provo, trips to a new stadium opening up, trips to see Lane Kiffin return to Ole Miss. How about Catholics versus convicts once again? I mean, Miami at Notre Dame, South Bend, Indiana on week 10, a November game for Miami to come into Northern Indiana and take their shot. Could it happen? Absolutely. I mean, I think Miami's a really good team. They're my national championship pick for a reason. I think them going into this game is just a huge opportunity, a huge game, and one that could set a tone for a potential playoff rematch should they be able to find their way on the same side of the bracket or meet again in the national championship game. I think that this Miami team is really good. I think this Notre Dame team is really good for obvious reasons. I think they'll both be 11 to 12 win teams. Week 10, this has all the makings of a top 5 matchup. I'm excited to see what happens in it. So Miami and Notre Dame was my Week 10 matchup. Week 11, we get Memphis once again. Memphis at South Florida. Now, neither one of these two teams are American Conference title picks for me. But could they be? This game could certainly open the opportunity. I think that Brian Hartline with South Florida, year one for him as a head coach, this is going to be one of the bigger matchups of the year for him. Charles Huff, again, we talked about him year one at Memphis. Can they go on the road and get a big-time upset again or a big-time win again following what they could have done in week 0 potentially? I think Memphis at South Florida, I wanted another group of 5 game in there. Week 11 was the perfect fit. That's where we go. Week 12. Almost heaven. Why don't you go to Morgantown, West Virginia at least once a season, right? And in week 12, Houston travels to West Virginia. This was a tripping point for Houston last year, and the reason that they weren't an 11-win team last year. This Houston program is in the right direction, but this was their tripping point last year, and it could very well be their tripping point once again in 2026. This West Virginia offense, something I didn't mention that I would have loved to, but I decided to go the quarterback battles route. This West Virginia offensive line looks much better this season. Rick Trickett is much more excited about what this offensive line can be and what they're going to do potentially this year. I love what Michael Hawkins is, and I really love him in this system at West Virginia. If all of those things come together, we're talking another upset spot for Houston. I don't think it's going to happen. I'm not buying that, but this was a tripping point last year. Could very well be one again this year. Week 13, it's Texas once again. We're going to College Station. Texas at Texas A&M. What could be an opportunity for A&M to keep themselves into the college football playoff picture, maybe even put themselves in the playoffs, maybe even put themselves in the SEC title game. Who knows? But Texas at Texas A&M, I love this game every year. I think that it's such a blessing to college football to have it back. And once again, we're going to see a really good opportunity and a really good game between Texas and A&M once again in 2026. My conference championship game, if I was to pick one, it would be the Big Ten championship game. I would love to see Oregon and Ohio State face off one more time. That's my prediction for the Big Ten title. But no matter who it is, I think that it's the best conference right now. Like I'm not sitting here being a hot take artist. I mean, it is. The 3 straight national championships, they're winning at the highest level. It's the best conference. The Big Ten championship game would be my pick for conference titles. So let's go back through these with no explanations. Week 0, Memphis at UNLV. Week 1, UCLA at Cal. Week 2, Ohio State at Texas. Week 3, LSU at Ole Miss. Week 4, Oklahoma at Georgia. Week 5, Penn State at Northwestern. Week 6, USC at Penn State. Week 7, Notre Dame at BYU. Week 8, Ole Miss at Texas. Week 9, Arizona and Texas Tech. Week 10, Miami at Notre Dame. Week 11, Memphis at South Florida. Week 12, Houston at West Virginia. Week 13, Texas at Texas A&M. And my conference championship game is the Big Ten title game. So let me know what you guys think. I would love to hear your thoughts down below in the comments. Would love to hear your guys' thoughts about everything we talked about here today. About a 45-ish minute episode, and that's a pretty solid amount of time, again, for one person. These episodes can really trend a handful of different directions. I like to stay between 45 to an hour and a half, depending upon what we have to talk about, what could go on. And I feel like Thursday's episode, we've got a longer episode coming your way as well. Make sure you check us out on social media as well. We've got a lot of stuff that's been going up over there. TikTok, Instagram, X. Got a lot of things going there. And trying to be just more active, more interactive, especially on X. And just doing a lot of things differently. So I appreciate y'all again for 300 subscribers. Please, if you're new around here, hit that subscribe button. Our goal is to hit 500 by the end of the college football season, and I certainly believe we can do so. Thank y'all so much. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you guys Thursday with another episode of Armchair Analysis.